a good word.
Well, to start off with, we all need to do research on anyone that we're going to give our money to. And I want to make this point very clear, too, that we should always have at least 2 to 3 different advisors working our money for us. A lot of people give all their money to one guy or one company, and that's not diversifying. Because if there is some sort of an unscrupulous person you're working with, you could lose it all. So it's good to diversify over your investment advisors. But back to the question about them not being incentivized to grow your portfolio, you need to get references. You need to study up on any advisor you might be working with.
And track records.
Look over their track record. And most of these guys have a very clear track record that goes back many years.
In fact, one of the questions I would ask is not so much how much did you make when the market was going up, but how did you protect me when the market was going down? Because not losing money is a major part of keeping your portfolio intact.
That's a really good question to ask. Sure. And also, how long have they been in business? If somebody has had steady returns for 20 years, basically they'll be up and down, of course. But if it's been a pretty good return, then you have that going for you. But outside of that, I don't know. Mark, do you have any ideas on the question?
Well, no. My question is: are there more broker dealers than RIAs, registered investment advisors? What's more common?
That's a good question. I believe there are probably more broker-dealer representatives than registered investment advisors, because all of the big companies out there, Charles Schwab, Goldman Sachs, all of their representatives are broker-dealer reps.
Okay. And I remember when getting my license, back in the old days, we had heard stories about some of the larger broker-dealers where they were piling up on certain stocks. And then they thought that the stocks were going to go down, but they didn't want to dump them. Mm-hmm. So they would convince their reps to tell their clients, this is the greatest stock in the world, to keep the level high so that when they dumped the stock, they wouldn't lose a lot of money themselves.
Correct.
So they kind of were exactly opposite of what they should have been doing for the client.
Well, that kind of leads us to maybe one of the first scams, the pump and dump scam. Would you like to go over that right now?
No, tell you what, we're going to cut to a commercial break, and then we're going to have you explain what does pump and dump. First you have to pump, then you have to dump. Okay. All right, we're going to cut to our first commercial break, and but before we do, we're very quick special promotion. The group War, remember Cisco Kid was a friend of mine.
Absolutely. I love it.
Okay, they're going to be playing at Moore's Riverboat tomorrow, the 24th at 5 p.m. This is your last chance to win free tickets. With this special trivia contest, and the first person with the correct answer is going to win 2 free tickets. And here's the question. What actress starred in the movies The Blind Side and Miss Congeniality? The first caller with the correct answer is going to win 2 free tickets to War at Moore's Riverboat. Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your email address and remember to speak slowly and spell out each letter. And here is our first trivia question, and remember the theme is old TV shows. Okay, we all remember the Fonz, who used to say, "Hey." I remember on Happy Days. But what was the Fonz's first name? The first 3 callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. We all remember the Fonz, who used to say, "Hey," on Happy Days. But what was the Fonz's first name? Again, 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, email address, and remember to speak slowly and spell out your information 1 letter at a time. And we will be right back. Excellent.
Awesome.
Cool.
Anyone know the answer?
Arthur.
Arthur Fonz. That's right. I was thinking Anthony. I couldn't.
Arthur Fonz, brother.
Go back down to nothing because he would always be rolling us into the next thing.
Right.
And
remember Animal House?
And one time I was calling the company and complaining when I saw from one variable annuity, in this case, universal life policy with the whole thing being, here's what you can pull out of this in 20 years if you do it. It was all.
Yeah, that's not good. That's like the guy. They say you get Bobbitt. Remember?
Bobbitt? No, I'm not sure.
Lorena Bobbitt.
To get a Bobbitt.
Yeah, Bobbitized. Yeah. and that's not good either. Okay.
Well, how about Lewinsky, if that were your last name?
Oh,
Following around a little bit.
man.
Wait a minute, that's not an Animal House, too. Again with the Animal House. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's check. What did they say? If Ted Kaczynski, remember him?
Yeah.
He married Monica, it'd be Monica Lewinsky Kaczynski.
Yeah.
A lot of Polish people running around there.
Watch too much Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf and Russell Grosner. And when we cut to the first commercial break, before we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question for the war tickets. Do you guys know the answer to this? Okay, what actress starred in the movies The Blind Side and Miss Congeniality?
That was Sandra.
Yes.
Bullock.
Bullock. Very good.
Yeah.
See, it's a tag
Took
team.
2 heads.
Took 2 heads for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. And when we went to our first commercial break, we asked this first trivia question. We all remember the Fonz. This is old TV shows we're talking. The Fonz, who used to say "eh" on Happy Days. But what was the Fonz's first name? Russell, I think you remember that.
It would be Arthur.
Arthur. Very good. All right. And you were going to get into what is pump and dump. That's not what I do at the gas station, right?
No, and hopefully that's
Pump
not
the
what
gas
you
and
do
dump my money?
in public at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, that too. Okay, explain what pump and
Sure,
dump
I'd be
is.
happy to. Well, pump and dump is usually done in the stock market, and it's a highly illegal practice where a small group of informed people buy a stock before they recommend it to thousands of investors. Because the result is that the stock will have a quick spike in price because tons and tons of people are going to be buying it, and then it'll fall very quickly right after that. And the perpetrators who bought the stock early will sell it off before the price goes down, and they'll make a huge profit. So most pump and dump schemes recommend companies that are over-the-counter bulletin board.
Or under the sink, as we would call them if they're really small.
Is that still pretty common today, Russell?
What, the OTC
The pump and dump,
DVD?
the pump and dump schemes, because I get emails too for these things, which are like,
Oh yeah, buy it at 30 cents. It's supposed to go
Yeah.
up to $4.
Well, to a certain extent, you can do pump and dump in reverse, such as manipulating a stock's price by saying that it's going to go down.
But one thing though is, if I remember correctly, in the rules of short selling, you can't. You have to short on what they call an uptick. And the reason for that is that if you could just, short selling basically is selling the stock before you own it.
Right.
And you can basically borrow, that's how you do it. So if you just keep selling, what happens when you sell? Price goes down.
Right.
In theory, you could just sell, and then eventually buy at a low price. It'd be kind of almost a no-risk situation. So the NASDAQ had come up with a rule, I think it was them or NYSE or whoever, about you had to sell only as the stock had what they call an uptick.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So for instance, Warren Buffett could certainly manipulate the stock price of a given company.
But he wouldn't do that.
No.
Well, look at what happened on Thursday. We had the stock market drop over 200 points, and the reason that the Wall Street Journal gave was because one of the investment houses that will go unnamed, but their initials are GS, basically said we're recommending that investors short the stock market. So what does the stock market do? It goes down 250 points. Well, I'm a little bit of a skeptic, and I'm thinking to myself, so, how many people who work for that firm were sitting around the night before going, okay, well, let's line up all of your orders and short orders because we're going to make an announcement tomorrow, and sure enough, the market goes down 250 points.
Now, they can't control it, but again, we were talking off break that, they could say, well, all we were doing was just advising people, we think the market's going to go down, and hey, look at that, we're right.
Well, I just think
Sure.
it's just a scam. I think, Wall Street, those people that work in Wall Street and at those houses, they have an unfair advantage to be able to know or take advantage of market trends. And the little guy, the market goes up one week, the market goes down one week. I mean, if you're fully invested in the stock market right now, this must be excruciatingly painful this year. Actually, the last several years.
So if it goes up and down a lot, just buy puts and calls.
So that's not really an
You
example
could,
of pump
sure.
and dump, but I just find it really interesting that
Well, that's actually short and distort.
short and distort. Okay.
Yep, that's what they call it.
Well, there was a joke about this guy who hears from the stockbroker, hey, buy XYZ company, it's at $1 and it's supposed to go up. Guy buys it at $1, goes, 2 days later he calls him back, he says, hey, it's at $1.40. He goes, I think you should load up and buy another, couple thousand shares.
Right.
Guy does it, and it keeps going up. Finally it's $5, $6, and he calls him, he says, it's $10. He goes, I think you should buy another 10,000 shares. He goes, no, sell everything. Sell to whom?
Oh,
Scary.
that's
So we're talking
very
about
scary.
we're talking about schemes and scams to watch out for. And Russell, you had brought some show notes for us, and you listed actually quite 4 or 5 different scams out there. What are the other ones that?
Well, I think probably the most famous scam is the Ponzi scam, named after Mr. Charles Ponzi, who back in the 1920s pulled off a pretty amazing feat. He made almost $10 million using
Back
this
in the
scam.
20s?
Yes.
Wow.
And
Just a bunch of money.
yeah, and basically a Ponzi scheme is pretty easy to figure out. It's a pyramid scheme, and this is where money from new investors is used to provide a return to previous investors.
And usually they're promising like extraordinary returns, aren't they?
8 to 1 in a week, or
Well,
That's
like
correct.
15, 20%. I mean, some.
oh no, a lot more than that. It's usually eight times. Like you put in 1,000, they promise you $8,000.
I'm just
That's right.
amazed that it still goes on today. I mean, here in the Bay Area, that just about once a month, there's another article about someone who got arrested or busted or
Yeah.
accused of running a Ponzi scheme.
Well, back in the 70s, I think it was the 70s, there was the Church of Hakeem. And my dad actually went to one of there were 500 people in there. And the guy had all these Rolls Royces and all that. And people would keep coming up with envelopes, and they'd walk away with envelopes, and that was the whole thing. And I think they promised every 8 weeks you get 16 times on your money or something like that. And
Wow.
everyone claims that how great it is. Well, yeah, it's just new money coming in for the old money. And what I love is when I had a secretary one time who was not the brightest knife in the drawer, as they say, and she showed me, oh, Edward, I have the greatest investment in the world. She shows me this thing, and I go, this is illegal. And
Right.
she shows me this piece of paper, and on the piece of paper it says, this is not illegal. And she says, see, here's proof. This is not illegal. But it seems like every 5 to 10 years, another major one comes out. They're always
Right.
around, but
like
they
a
always
Friends Network or something where you
Yeah.
put in $50 or $100 or $500 and you tell your friends and they put in it's just basically a big pyramid.
Well, I love when when it goes on television and then they interview some of these people. Like, I don't understand why it's illegal. Nobody ever gets hurt.
Except for the last investors.
And those are the biggest ones. And so what I tried to explain to my secretary, I said, you know what? Listen, and I had to finally explain to her, listen, I'm just kidding, because she was going to do this. I said, why don't you start your own? Forget putting money in to give to somebody else. If you're going to do it, you start it yourself. Be the top dog and say, okay, everyone give me money, blah, blah. And I said, no, don't do that. I'm just kidding, because it's illegal. But I said, why would you follow someone else?
Sure. Well, legal disclaimer, this is Russell Rosner. I do not recommend starting your own pyramid scheme.
See, people didn't understand that in the audience, that Edward Brown was also saying that. But
Yes, he's
So when it
I'm
comes to
also saying that.
Ponzi schemes, guys, what are some of the things you how do you look out for those things? Are there obvious earmarks for
If there's
something?
no product, that's one thing.
Often that's the case.
Yeah.
There's no
There's
product.
got to be something to sell. That's why, like, a lot of people will hit hard on, let's say Amway is an example, because it's multi-level marketing. But that's not a Ponzi scheme, because they're actually providing product.
True.
You're actually buying something.
Well, I can come up with an interesting Ponzi scheme that could get past you if you didn't really pay attention. So, for instance, there are a lot of guys out there right now raising money for real estate, and they basically are telling their investors, hey, we're going to use your money to either maybe fix and flip or buy and hold. Now,
And that's happening a lot right now. There's a lot of people out there trying to raise money for funds.
that's correct. That's correct. And, unless you know that your money is in a certain house by getting a note and deed of trust or something along those lines, or actually being on title, that individual, if he's unscrupulous, could basically take the money and spend it on a Rolls Royce or buy property and not tell you about it.
Well, there was a gentleman who will go unnamed in the I'm trying to remember now, the early 90s or late 80s, if I'm not mistaken, who owned a mortgage company. And he, if I'm not mistaken, I know he got busted, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he had a 15th mortgage on his house, theoretically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
I figured past 12 mortgages, okay, something's wrong.
Sure. But just to finish up the thought on the Ponzi scheme, basically the scheme collapses when the money that is owed to previous investors is greater than the money that's coming in. It's as simple as
Exactly.
that. And our modern Ponzi scheme guy is Bernie Madoff, and we all know who that is.
Yep.
Right.
Very good. Hey guys, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break here. We're going to have another special trivia. Excuse me.
All the
another special
contests we have.
I know this is great.
Listen and win.
Listen, yeah, well, we're getting a lot of great advertisers to come, and this time it's going to be for Hornblower tickets. Now, imagine yourself aboard a luxury yacht with your closest friends and family. Indulge in deliciously prepared food and scenic San Francisco Bay views. The Hornblower Cruises and Events offer 3 types of dining cruises: a free-flowing champagne brunch cruise, fun and lively supper club cruise, and an elegant 4-course dinner cruise. Fun for all ages. Book now at hornblower.com. And I don't know if you guys have ever been. I've been on there many times, and it's still one of my
I
favorites.
met my
Oh,
wife
yeah.
on a Hornblower cruise 20 years ago.
How romantic.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait a minute, who did you go with?
A friend.
Yeah. I know one of the most beautiful
Okay.
women in the world who works at Hornblower right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're going to hold that thought.
Okay.
We are going to cut to our second commercial break, and again, we're talking old TV shows. This is a fun show. I like this one. Okay, I mean, our show is fun.
It's always
Distributed
fun.
content, it's always fun, but this is good to talking about all the scams and all that. Okay, in the TV show I Love Lucy, now going back a number of years.
Lucy.
Lucy, yeah, that's right. What was Lucy's maiden name on the show? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. In I Love Lucy, what was Lucy's maiden name? Russell, I see the eyes turning. I think you know this one, but
I watch too much TV.
Too much TV, exactly. Call 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your email address, and remember, please speak slowly and spell out